So now we're going to look at the setup steps. Before you actually sit down to complete your report, if you do these setup steps first, it's going to make it much easier. And, you don't have to do everything all in one day. So I strongly encourage you to start your setup steps early. The first one is that you're going to need to register for a RCRAInfo user account. So if you already have an account in the RCRAInfo industry app, or you may have an account in CDX, which is EPA's central data exchange, your CDX account will work in RCRAInfo, so you don't have to create a new account. If you have an account and you can't remember your password, consider trying to do the password reset function. Or even if you can't remember your username, give me a call and let's see if we can get you into your existing account instead of setting up a new one. The second step is you're going to get permissions for your site. And then step 3 is going to be to complete the electronic signature agreement. And completing this electronic signature agreement is going to allow you to actually electronically sign and submit your biennial report. So you really want to make sure you get this set up in advance, and you're not scrambling on the last day because you've completed your report, but you're not allowed to actually submit it. Okay, so now I'm going to show you a demo about how to sign up for a user account. So just a tip here, don't use Internet Explorer. It's not supported and it won't allow all of the functions of the website to work. I think one of the problems has to do with pop-ups. So this is the website I put together to help you with filling out your report. It covers all of the steps that are covered in this video on how to complete your report. And you have here a direct link to the RCRAInfo industry app. So you just click on this and then you're going to click on register. So I'm going to use the pre-production system for this demonstration. This is not the correct web address. You're going to use this one right here. And the first thing you're going to do is click on register. So you want to continue to industry user. And you can choose any user ID that you want. I recommend using your work email address because that's easy to remember, but I've already got another account with that username. So I'm going to create a new one here. So if you don't already have an account, now you have to use login.gov to get it set up. If you already have an account and you haven't logged in for a while, it might ask you to connect your account to login.gov. So this part of the process will look similar. And this is because I've already got accounts connected to my email address. So you shouldn't get this pop-up, but if you do, maybe you want to click on Take Me to Forgot User ID instead. So this is a pre-production version of login.gov. You might be familiar with this website already because a lot of federal government sites are connected to this now for login. It defaults to sign in. So if you don't have a login.gov, you're going to have to click on Create Account and follow these prompts. I've already got a login.gov, even though I'm creating a new user account in RCRAInfo, I'm going to have to connect it to my existing login.gov account. And then it will take you back to RCRAInfo, and then you'll start entering your information. And one thing that I should note here is that you need to use your legal name, because if you have to complete an electronic signature agreement, if you're going to sign and submit the report, you'll go through this electronic identity proofing process, and that will only work if you put in your full legal name in your account. And then you're going to fill out your business information. So this is the name of the company that you're working for. So if you're a consultant, you need to put your company here, not the company that you're filling out the biennial report for, because this is your account. and it can be used for more than one site. Once you get your user account set up, then you're going to request permissions for your site. So there are a lot of different options for permissions, and it can be a little bit confusing. So I'm just going to go through what the different permissions are and what the permissions that you actually need to complete your report are. So there are different modules within the RCRAInfo industry app. The first one is called My RCRA ID, and this is for filling out the notification form. So this is form EPA 8700-12. And a lot of you may have already used the app to fill out this form. So it's much faster and easier than submitting the form on paper. I highly recommend that in the future, you always submit the notification form this way. So you need to get permission in that module in order to submit that form. And then biennial report is a separate module. So your biennial report includes that same form, the notification form. It's often referred to as the site ID form or the SI form when it's part of the biennial report, but it's actually the same form. So it's going to look really familiar to you. So this is a separate permission for the biennial report module. And of course, that's where you're going to need permission to do the BR. And then there's a module for eManifest where you can see all of your manifests once the treatment, storage, and disposal facility uploads them into the system. So some new information, as many of you know, starting on January 22nd, 2025, the treatment, storage, and disposal facilities are no longer required to send back a paper copy of your manifest. And you need to pick up your manifest copies in RCRAInfo in the eManifest system. There's also a new requirement for generators to be responsible for making corrections to the manifest. Any portion of the manifest that's your responsibility, you have 30 days from the date of a regulator request to make that correction. So it's required for all SQGs and LQGs to have at least one staff person for the site with site manager or eManifest module certifier permissions who would be able to certify those corrections to the manifest. The last module is the Waste Import Export Tracking System, or WITS, which is for sites that are importing hazardous waste into the United States or exporting hazardous waste to a receiving facility outside the US for them to get the proper permissions before shipping, and then also to complete some reports that are required for import and export. And then there are different permission levels for every module. So in each of these modules, you can have permission to view. So you could just view the manifest, but you can't do anything to them, or you could view the biennial report submissions, but you can't edit them or you can't submit them. Obviously, that's not going to do you very much good in terms of biennial report. The next level is preparer. So sometimes you're going to have one person complete, fill out the biennial report or prepare the report, and another person sign the report. So if you're just completing the report for somebody else to sign, then the permission level that you want is called preparer. If you are going to turn in the report, you need to be the certifier. So this is the person signing and submitting the report. So if you're just doing the report and submitting it, you need to get certifier permission. And the last permission is called site manager. It does appear sort of like it's a separate module when you're requesting permissions, but really it's just all of the permissions for all of the modules. And then also, if you're the site manager, if someone else requests permissions for the site, then that email will go to you. And you can also manage electronic signature agreements for other staff for your site. So if that sounds appropriate to your role, then you can just request site manager permission, and you don't have to worry about picking different permission levels for the different modules. So for biennial report, every site needs a certifier, but it's optional to have a preparer. A consultant can prepare the biennial report on behalf of a company that they're contracting with, but they can't certify the report. So starting from the home page, that RCRAInfo will send you to when you log in. You're going to select existing site and enter your site ID into the search box. So if you already have some site permissions, the homepage will look like this, and you have to click on My Sites and then click on Select Existing Site. And then you have to click on this checkbox, and the buttons change when you do that. So you can click Request Access. And then you're going to choose your permission level that you want to request. If it makes sense, you can just choose Site Management Active, and that's going to give you all the permissions for everything. So I'm going to request Biennial Report Certifier permissions so that I can certify and submit the biennial report. And while I'm here, I'm also going to request certifier permissions in the eManifest module, which means I'll be able to use the eManifest module to check whether the manifests I'm looking at as I'm compiling this information to fill out my report are the complete set of manifests for the reporting year. It also means that I'd be able to certify any corrections to a manifest. And I'm also going to get certifier permission for my RCRA ID so that I can turn in a notification form for this site later on. When you request permission for your site, that's going to generate automatically an email to the person who's responsible for giving you that permission. And you can click on the pending status here to see who's received that request. That might be me, but if there's already a site manager assigned to that site, it might be somebody else. And sometimes if there's a site manager and then that person leaves the company, the email might go to them and nobody's receiving it. So if you are not granted permissions within a few working days, you should definitely give me a call so I can look into it. It probably means that I did not receive your email, that somebody else received it. And I can still give you permissions, even if there was an assigned site manager, but that's also something we need to take care of cleaning up. So please give me a call or send me an email and let me know. So for certifiers, if you request certifier permission for any module, or if you request site manager permission, once your permission is granted, the next time you log in to the system, it's going to ask you to complete your electronic signature agreement. So, so I have to choose more security questions. And then it's going to take me to the page for electronic identity proofing. So it's using LexisNexis to verify your identity, and it's not storing the information that you input on this screen here. So if you're comfortable with that, you can put in this information and it will electronically verify your identity. If you aren't comfortable with that, or if you can't pass the electronic identity proofing, which sometimes happens if you've moved recently or perhaps changed your name, then you're going to need to do a paper electronic signature agreement. You click here to change the slider to no. You would print this out and sign it in ink and mail it to the address shown at the bottom. If you accidentally clicked here, you can click again to change back and go through the electronic identity proofing. So if you need to mail in your paper electronic signature agreement, you can start working on filling out your report, but you won't be able to electronically sign and submit it until I actually receive that electronic signature agreement that's printed out on paper and with an original ink signature. And then I have to go into the system and say, yes, I received this. And then you'll be able to certify and submit your report.